And welcome to another Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com. Watch, shop, play. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and you're joining us on a very special episode. It's our official preview for the 2016 Gen Con, which is happening next week, very soon. So this whole episode will mostly be, and was going to be, devoted entirely to that. So if you're looking for the Gen Con preview, this is it.
But we had one news story we couldn't ignore.
It happened just a couple days ago. We had to get it in there. Big deal. So we're going to get to it really fast right now because this is going to be a big episode. So buckle in for this episode. But our one news story this week is Asmodee, a giant of the industry who has purchased most companies, has purchased another company, which includes three or four other companies.
Another big merger. They now have acquired Z-Man Games, Plaid Hat, and I'm blanking on the third.
It's F2Z Entertainment who owns all these other ones. Z-Man, Plaid Hat, Philosophia, and Pretzel Games are all included in this package. I mean, Z-Man is definitely the big one there. Plaid Hat's pretty big too, but it is kind of like that, like, you know, the one fish swallows the other fish, and the bigger fish swallows those fish. Because they only bought Plaid Hat last year, remember?
Yeah.
So
I remember because we were there.
Barely any turnaround time. Now, technically, they're in talks to buy them. It isn't.
However, judging by the comments I've read, it sounds like they already have agreed to it. They're just deciding on the terms.
I don't think they would publish this story if they weren't pretty confident.
Yeah, it wasn't just that. It's like if you read, because they had comments not only from the Asmodee, but from the head of F2Z, and it literally says, Asmodee is a great partner we've always wanted to work with. Like, it already sounds like the deal's been set.
The devil's been dotted on the bloody line. That's not a real.
We're making board games great again.
So we've talked at least 2 or 3 times in the past about their other acquisitions of Fantasy Flight, Days of Wonder.
It's sort of funny because to me now, it reminds me of the Trump presidency, not because of like relating to how Trump is, but like when Trump first announced, we were like, that's silly, it's a joke. Just like Asmodee, you're like, oh look, they bought someone, this is so silly, and now it's like, oh god, it's actually happening.
First, they came for these people, and I didn't speak up, and then yeah, exactly. It's every time now, it's like a little bit more.
The one thing I want to add that I think different from our other discussions, which is why I also want to bring it up and know your guys' opinions on. I read this in the comments section on the Board Game Geek when this came out, and I think it's an interesting idea. It might be what's happening. Asmodee is trying to become Hasbro. Their goal is to get all the big games, and they get them out so much so that when you know how when you go around, if you make a Monopoly thing, almost anyone's going to know what you're talking about. But they want that with like,
let's make a real Monopoly. Then we'll really
to make it so everything's so like, wood for sheep, Catan joke.
Like they're trying to get so big that they can get these hobbyist board games out into the mainstream.
Right.
The same way Monopoly and Clue.
Yeah. And that's and I think that it makes sense with the way they're buying up all the games that have like the pandemic. They just won Catan. Like they said, you know what, we're going to do whatever it takes to get that one.
That is certainly a rosy, optimistic
idea
of what the good side of this could be.
There's 2 sides to that. There's the making more common, everyone knows it, and more chance of being able to buy it anywhere. Bad side is one, 90% of people then will not go to their friendly gaming store because. Do you go to your friendly local gaming store to buy Monopoly?
They want to be in Target. They want to be on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc.
And the other thing is, how many people in the board game community talk about how they would put Monopoly in their top 10 list? Hell, any of the Hasbro games. That's why I actually think Hasbro's trying to counter with the Harry Potter game, I believe, that they actually have.
Well, I think that, the counter side of what the good part could be is that they are trying to get rid of those bad board games and say now the ones that are good people will talk about, like Ticket to Ride, Catan, etc. Even if they are more of those gateway games, it's still a big step up from the usual fare. I mean, I think that's a possible good thing.
I mean, because,
obviously that's not bad.
Because everything I said is all speculation and really in particular because I don't have any heavy background in economics and future predicting, I'm going to lean towards the positive side. Like, this is going to be good for us.
I am a prognosticator from way back, though. Only when I'm alone. Yeah, yes, but I think overall this is kind of the point where I don't think we can say anymore when this happens, well, I'm sure this will be okay, and I think every time we kind of think, oh, that's the last of it though. And it seems clear to me at this point that it is not going to stop. They're going to keep buying companies. I have no reason to believe that they won't. And the more companies that they get, the scarier it does become. And I have read also people point out companies like Wizards of the Coast went through similar things. Like this has kind of happened. And obviously Hasbro, like you said, before the hobbyist modern board game kind of had everything under their umbrella. They still kind of do. And we're also in a time where Kickstarter is huge. And while this is happening, it's also really great for indie companies right now as well, even to go up against them. Like there's kind of a boom in that side.
That's one of the funny things someone mentioned is that what's going to happen is they mentioned some of the smaller companies and like they're going to ignore the small fish. So those are going to be the companies we should always focus
Right.
Interesting enough though, the one I'm actually surprised they don't own yet, mostly because I think if their goal is the next Hasbro, out of all companies is the one that's making that jump the best is Yellow Games. Because look, they have the Target exclusive King of Tokyo.
But I mean, you don't think they're next on the chopping block?
No, I 100%. I think they're already been in discussions with them. I think they have their sights on that. Like if they buy another company, that's where my money is.
Like who's the next biggest company? I feel like even when Fantasy Flight, I feel like we probably actually said directly, well, they still don't have Z-Man. Like that's when it gets real scary.
No, it has to be them. Like I
Yellow's
remember
up there.
Someone said and that's when they mentioned
AG.
mentioned Yellow and Rio Grande.
Rio
Grande. Like as soon as those two buy.
It really will be. It's worrying, and I mean, we know for a fact the prices are going up everywhere because of this, and it's harder for consumers necessarily to get their hands on these things. Like we've seen already firsthand the potential downsides of it, and I've yet to see any. One person said Z-Man in the past has been a little scattered with their.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why they actually got Pod Hat to help them with that.
Right. So now they have even better help.
No, I do think there are some negatives, and one of the big ones that always comes up, and I think this is a fair point, is competition. You always want competition. If everything's under one umbrella, you don't get that. However, that being said, I do think, depending on how Asmodee handles this, because remember they only just started this whole crazy thing, and really, I would say while they bought them a lot, really it was 2016 April when I can say really was the start date for all their new plans to go out. So they're still relatively young. They can move things around. They might change things, the way pricing works or how they distribute the games. I mean, it could in the end be better for us because then if they do have everything, they could be like, now we have warehouses everywhere. You're more guaranteed to get your games out, and maybe they'll have. Maybe let's say they bought Z-Man and Pod has an excellent tracking program, and they're like, okay, we're going to use that now. And wow, look at this. We're not getting a lot of Mice and Mystics or something, or now we know where to. So there is the chance for good.
It's sort of like how theoretically the best form of government would be a benevolent dictator. If we had a dictator who was really good and great and kind and had all the right decisions, then that would be great if they could just have things done in a second and have control over everything. But usually that's impossible, and that's so in a perfect world, yes. I hope that we live in that world. I don't know that we do. I think
I'm judging by 2016 right now. I don't think so.
I think the biggest thing, my biggest criticism of the way Asmodee is doing this, I feel like what they don't have is a public face. They don't have a spokesperson out on Twitter. They don't have a Reggie from Nintendo.
Didn't you even? I think you sent me this when they first of someone who actually works at Pod Hat. I think it was
one of the designers, Rob Davio, who we'll talk about this game later, had a tweet about how weird it was for his games to be shuffled around, and I just think it makes it very easy to villainize them because they are this faceless corporation right now, and I think it would benefit them and everybody if they had some kind of a presence, and I don't see that from them.
And I think that would help because I think one of the big issues, not only they have, but we as customers have, we both have different views on how things should work on the internet in particular. Like still think no one knows exactly big markets how to sell things online, and in their view they need to keep it because most friendly local gaming stores will sell at the suggested retail price. Mm-hmm. However, if done any shopping online, you're probably not going to find it at a much lower price. And then so the two are arguing between each other of like, no, it needs to be this money, and they're like, no, I used to be able to buy the X-Wings at this price, I should be able to get them at this price. Mm-hmm. So then needs to be, if there was some public who can like at least have a discussion. So that would help a lot.
Yeah, it's their communication is sorely lacking to consumers and retailers and publishers alike.
Distributors.
Yeah, all of the above. So I'm scared. I'm a little worried about the whole thing. It's been building a lot. At this point, I think it merits concern. I know there's lots of debate. Some people think it's overblown, and some of it certainly is. Some of it isn't. I'd love to hear what people think, of course, in the comments, but I'm sure we'll be talking about this every time it comes up for the next.
Yes, I mean, and overall, I will say, partly because how many board games we play, the alarm's going off in my head when you see someone take over a lot of territory. That's like, this is a bad sign.
We've been training for this for years.
So I feel like that I'm sort of conditioned to be worried about that. Like it could.
OP.
But like I said, I'm very curious to see how they handle this. I mean, do they keep it? I mean, another thing people point out a lot, and this is where what does worry me, is like how it's happened in the video game world. And that didn't turn out so well, like with EA games and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there are troubling signs, but I think so far, even with the price increase, I still think that's relatively benign.
The least of my worries about what they're doing.
And I think overall, we haven't seen a huge, like, really big bad effect. So that's why, like, I mean, it's still the early stages. So that's why I'm like, even though like the thing in my head, the light's going off, I'm like, let's just take a deep breath. Let's
panic
and run to the hills, because you know what? It's 2016 actually. It's got to be bad. Nothing good happens this year.
One good thing though. There is one good thing. In fact, there's like 50 plus.
Wait. Let me guess. You finally got a good night's rest.
That never is going to happen. Certainly not at this year's Gen Con 2016. All right, all that bad mojo out of the way. Let's talk about the future. Tons of games coming out at Gen Con this year that we're going to be able to look at.
There were so many, but we chose about 50 of our favorites.
As always, as we've said in our last years of going to Gen Con, we can't cover everything. This is just the preview. This is the stuff that we're looking forward to and that we're hoping to get a chance to check out on the floor. Some of it we've touched on before, some of it we have not. So we're going to run down the list.
On your mark, get set, go!
Big list. First up, we got the new Smash Up expansion, Cease and Desist from AEG. We have briefly talked about this in the show. It's got their kind of cute little parodies of existing properties like Transformers and Star Wars and Star Trek, and I forget the other one.
You probably can see on the box there, I'm guessing.
Lord of the Rings, perhaps.
Yes.
But I don't know. I mean, it's another Smash Up expansion. I don't think there's anything real beefy to talk about here. Hopefully it'll be cool, but it's more,
Smash Up.
It's more factions for Smash Up. So that will be there. That should be cool. Here's the one that I am pretty excited about. Well, we're kind of going in alphabetical order by publisher, but so this isn't like a best in order of best to worst or anything like that.
Right. So right now we're still in AEG territory, I believe.
No, next.
I
have one from Arcane Wonders. So this game is called Speechless. It's a party game that's kind of like charades, but the people guessing aren't allowed to speak either. And the person acting things out is trying to get them to guess 6 words.
I think we actually talked about this
in a row.
Before.
We might have. 6 words in a row, and everyone else is writing down on a whiteboard what they think those words are. And then at the end, you tell everybody what they are. But that's essentially what it is. It sounds pretty fun. I feel like every year there's usually a party game in this vein. And actually, we're seeing more and more of these along the line of Sheriff of Nottingham, which also was Arcane Wonders, Spyfall, Codenames.
Isn't this one part of the collection?
I don't think it's a Dice Tower essential, but I could be wrong about that. But at any rate, it sounds like it'll hit that sweet spot. We love games like Concept, so it sounds
we're
like
suckers for it.
Yeah, although it really is. At first, I was like, it's charades, but it sounds a little more interesting than that. Speechless. Next up, Ares Games. The Last Friday. This is the Friday the 13th horror thing. We kind of got to see this a little bit at the PhD event. I didn't see it though.
No.
Did you? You didn't get a chance to see it. Our colleagues did.
Yes.
But
it looked really cool. I mean, we're big fans of Letters of Whitechapel, and seems to be in that sort of vein, except a little bit differently. It's almost like the reverse.
I thought you were going to say Friday the 13th, and I was like, we are? I'm not. But yeah, so I don't know.
But like,
horror games.
Cool hunting, someone having their own board. We've liked that. We also liked it in, I'm blanking on the Plaid Hat game.
Spectre Ops.
Thank you.
Yes, we anything with deduction in it, and it is a cool theme. I don't know of any other like slasher.
Well, it's sort of funny because it comes out right when the video game first did the slasher thing, like that had the whole Kickstarter that had the debacle.
Right, the copyright issues.
And then they made their own.
Wasn't that? But this one is not, because this one is not called Friday the 13th.
No.
It's very much it's loosely based on on that property. So that's one for the ages. And I don't know anything about this game. Chronicles #1 Origins.
Yeah. So apparently this is actually going to be part of a set. And this first one is you're sort of having, if you can't tell by the artwork, caveman tribes.
Okay.
You have to work together and raise and sort of build a civilization. And then you're actually going to end the game wherever it is. And the next one, like #2, will actually begin where you left off in this one.
So they are going through history? It's like a game of civilization?
Yeah, pretty much. And I thought that sounded really, it's sort of like a legacy kind of chapter game. And
Is it like kind of like Time Stories? Or
well, it sounds like that because of the chapters and stuff, but I think Time Stories doesn't really... We found one card that carries over from... Spoilers.
This one is...
But this one sounds like really more based on that.
Okay, much more campaign-y. All right.
And of course, I think that's perfect. The history and how civilizations grow and stuff.
I'm into it. That's from Artana. Next up, Sakura Arms. Now this comes from Baka Fire, who the hotness these days. Tragedy Looper. We didn't play Code of Nine, but we played Tragedy Looper, and these games are really popular. So I think it's important that we talk about this one. It's a 2-player dueling game, and you have different goddesses, and you're fighting each other. You each have I think you have kind of have customized decks a little bit, but you also get to know what your opponent is working with as you're making yours, and it's a dueling game. I don't know, but it's from Baka Fire, so I think you can expect. They have a certain pedigree at this point, and it's called Sakura Arms. I guess arms like weapons, not like a hotel.
Yeah.
This one looks like a fishing game. That's my guess.
Oh,
Coldwater Crown.
This one actually is on Kickstarter live right now. So you're getting your Kickstarter Pickstars here too. We threw it all together.
Yep.
But this one pretty much is you're in a fishing tournament, so you have to catch fish using different lures. Like the cards will tell you what lures they need, and you have a little tackle box with different gems. You have to use the match and pull them.
When you say gems, physical gems?
Oh, like little plastic.
Oh, okay.
They're your lures. And there's like saltwater, river, and like lake fish. So you try to catch the most diverse fish. But each fish, like once you catch it, you flip it over and it tells you the size and their weight and stuff. So you actually also, there's a competition point of like trying to get like the biggest fish as well.
Okay.
So like when I saw it, this literally was the Animal Crossing, fishing tournament. Then it just sounded really fun and interesting of the idea, and it for gaming perfect. Like just like that, I gotta collect more saltwater. I need this, and like you don't know whether this is a big fish. Like I got it. Oh no, it's only 3 pounds.
Is there a bluffing aspect where you can be like, it was this big?
Oh my god.
Like,
I didn't think it.
That would be your card.
That would be amazing.
That's a whole other game. I like fishing in video games.
So I think this sounded like a really nice, like I said, like how we like that in video games of like translating it into the board game aspect.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are actually also real fish too, which is cool. So it sort of has that.
It's not magic fantasy fish.
No, you're not like, oh my god, I just got the Leviathan.
That'll be the Cthulhu expansion if it comes out. There, you will fish for elder gods. Next, we have a couple of games from Bezier Games, including America,
which actually we talked a little bit about because they did mention they were planning on doing this because it's sort of based off sort of the Terra system.
Yeah, very much so. It is that system.
Except, as if you haven't guessed from the title, It's about America.
Right. So if you don't know, it's a trivia game, sort of like Wits and Wagers, where...
Sorry, correction. The town America, comma, Iraq.
Wait, I didn't get that joke.
I'm saying there's a town called in Iraq.
Oh.
Like, just idea. Like, it's not actually...
It was the switcheroo.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a long day. So...
Oh, it has.
But we like Terra a lot. That was fun. So I don't know if I would like this more because I know more about America.
Well, what's interesting about this, from what I read, it's going to have a little bit more, like, pop stuff. Like, one of them was, like, when did this movie come out or first air? Like, so...
That's interesting.
That's going to be an interesting take. And also what's interesting, because we're speaking from Americans living in America. So, like, for us, it's going to sell more, but what about internationally?
Right.
And then in turn, are we going to get then, like,
Russia.
UK? Like, and to me, actually, I would be interested in that, because then it'd be like, I don't know this stuff.
I might be interested in, like, Europe, but I think any more specific than that, and I'd be like, I don't know about that.
I think the things...
Canada.
I would be interested in China, because I think that's a nice big area, a lot of lore and history. You can go back, far back or recent. And definitely one of those things that would be definitely, especially with a terrorist system where you don't need to be right on, it could be very fun to be guessing, like,
France? Yeah.
Well, no, then you just always guess running away.
It's about learning. Sorry, French viewers. We'll see how that turns out. The other game that you see up there is called Colony. It's another one from Ted Alspach, who, Suburbia and all these Bezier games.
This one I did not. I was like going through the list. We actually shared a lot. Pretty much we both made our own list and fused them into this.
You're getting the best of both of us. I really only put it there because it's Bezier Games. It's a building game. You're building settlements. You have resources, stuff like that. But their games are usually pretty strong. Last year they had Favor of the Pharaoh and Terra, which are new. So I'm usually excited to see anything. So it's on my radar from them because I think it'll be something that we don't know about specifically, but, well, you do. You can read about it online. You build stuff. All right, next, from Calliope Games, this one called Hive Mind. You heard about this one?
No,
I'll tell you about it. So it comes from Richard Garfield of fame, who makes every game ever, Magic, King of Tokyo, all those games. This is not like that. It's a party game, very much a party game.
You have 5 energy.
No, you're all bees, and you're asking each other questions, or everyone gets a question asked to them. And the reason it's called Hive Mind is if you answer the same as other people, you are successful. You want to have the same answers as other people, and it has little pawns called beeples.
Beeples, okay.
Yeah, they're called beeples. If you do not have answers in common with other people, you move closer to the exit, and leaving means you lose the game. So it reminds me a little bit of the game.
Now, does it provide questions, or do you make your own?
I believe they provide questions.
Okay, because then I just imagine you can do some really silly ones.
Otherwise, yeah, I don't know where you. Although I guess you could make up your own questions.
No, that's just what is your favorite color?
Right. That's probably in there. But it sounded pretty cool. It sounded like a very unique concept. It reminded me of the kind of things you would see in like the Jackbox party games or Balderdash, a fun party board game.
Well, it reminds me of those. Because this is in particular, I would want to play this with couples. Because those like
it's like the newlywed game.
They try to guess what the other person's answer was.
Yeah.
So I think this is just sort of taking that into the next grade.
That could be good.
Without making you feel miserable if you're single.
Well, we could do that. Why not everything? Next up, we got Bloodborne, which we've also talked about, but from Eric Lang, Cool Mini or Not, based on the video game. It sounds like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It sounded to me like it's kind of similar to Cutthroat Caverns.
Which makes perfect sense, I feel, in the spirit of the game.
I think not at all cooperative, not even semi-cooperative, but you're all attacking a monster and trying to get like the killing blow or whatever. Unusual Suspects.
Yeah.
That's our next game we're going to talk about from Cool Mini or Not. Now, we did kind of see this at PhD if you watched our interview videos.
Yeah, so we have talked about this before.
Yes, so we're not going to touch on it too much.
But pretty much someone knows who the culprit is, but they can only answer very odd questions like, what movies did they go see? Do they like long walks on the beach? Do they like pina coladas? Very
interpretive, kind of funny party game. I think it sounds like fun. Our friends and co-workers who were at the PhD event did get a chance to play this game and had good things to say, so I'm looking forward to getting a chance to actually try it out for myself.
It's all about us.
Yeah.
Me.
So hopefully we'll get to give you our report.
Moving on. Big company, Cryptozoic, has some stuff there.
I've heard of them.
Now, last time we were there, we got to play their actual Attack on Titan board game, the very prototype, but we loved it. Now, this is more, we probably have a general idea. This is based on their, according to only Jonathan's opinion, but I'm very excited. This is the deck building game.
From that, though. From that. Yeah, okay.
Because that was amazing. But this is the deck building game based on their Cerberus engine. As we all know, not we all know, I know. They actually grouped their Cerberus engine sort of how the mechanics work. Like the ones you probably know are the DC ones, and actually the Street Fighter one falls in this. It's their hero engine. Then they have the sports engine, which is so far is only the NHL. They have their Middle Earth engine. Guess what's in the Middle Earth one?
Hockey.
But then the other one is anime engine. The only one we have there is the Naruto one, which by all accounts I really think is, for me, the one real flop out of all their deck building ones. Like they might have pluses and minuses, but to me that one, I applaud them for trying to do something different, but doesn't work very well. So this, I'm assuming, will fall into the anime engine. And I'm very excited though because we just mentioned that board game they have. Attack on Titan's been in their system a bit more. So I think they're going to be able to capture it better. And because of the last one, we even forgot to mention the Cartoon Network one, which was different, but in my view actually was a success in being different, like in fun. That I'm expecting to see that in this set.
Hopefully it's not just Naruto Part 2.
Well, the thing I like also is I don't think the thing that ruins Naruto can be implemented in this one.
It will be interesting because, yeah, I'm pretty curious how they're going to adapt it exactly, because you're not... the theme is definitely, in my head at least, doesn't seem to lend itself as easily as some of these other. But then again, they did a hockey game, so God, who knows? It's not clearly they can fit anything into the system. So that is there.
They got more coming.
I hope to see the other Attack on Titan board game somewhere. We haven't.
Heard anything
about it.
As soon as that even comes to sale, I'm picking that up because that was just, I think, one of the funnest, coolest games.
Next up, another license they've got is Rick and Morty. They put out the Total Recall game earlier this year. Mm-hmm. This one is the Mr. Meeseeks Party Box. Mm-hmm. Looks like a Mr. Meeseeks box. It's a dice rolling party game where you are assigned to do certain tasks, and you roll dice to see if you can achieve them. If you can't, you got to ask Mr. Meeseeks for help.
Can do.
And where it becomes a little weirder and different is that Mr. Meeseeks might ask you to perform actual things in real life to do, kind of like a drinking game or like a silly party game.
Oh no, I'm sure we're gonna be drinking while playing this.
You're gonna be doing weird things, and there's supposedly some kind of mechanic where if Mr. Meeseeks is out for too long and you still can't roll, bad things will happen.
Well, if we recall from the show that they did not like being.
So I'm kind of wary about this game. It's just because it sounds like it might be a little too quelfy for me, and
I guess for me, I like sometimes doing those crazy outside the crawling.
Sometimes I do.
In particular, I'm sure they won't include this in their rules, but if it can be adapted to add drinking, like we were mentioning before,
well,
I think that will.
You can do it to any game.
Yeah, but I mean, like anything that has those outside physical things, usually throwing alcohol at it tends to make it significantly more enjoyable.
Yeah, a lot of bad games do get pretty good when you don't know what you're doing.
But I'm excited because
I'm definitely curious about it, man. I love Rick and Morty, and it might almost be worth it just to have that box.
I mean, look at it. It's a fantastic.
I believe it is an actual button that you press.
Yeah, no, I mean, just having the box, I think would look great.
I think it's like those Yahtzee sets. You're just gonna want one just to put on.
Yeah, no, I mean that Firefly ship alone. But it's time for us to move on
to another Cryptozoic game.
Yes.
This one real quick because we did actually get to play this at PhD.
It was really awesome. We only got to play a few rounds. That game was like, I just remember I was just like, what, do we have to stop?
It's called Internal Affairs.
Yes.
Check out our videos from PhD events from a few months ago.
Really awesome. A fun sort of deduction. That's the game I look for.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
With secret rolls, but the interesting thing is your rolls will switch throughout the game.
Yes, it's not. You're not locked down to a team.
Definitely, I think was a lot of fun. And if it even pick up, I might pick up my own copy because that definitely was one of my favorites from that. But
it definitely was an interesting one that I really like. Another kind of party-ish deduction game, Codenames Pictures, and again, we did get the chance to actually try this one out.
And we've done a video on Codenames, so If you watch that, you probably have the gist of this.
You can fill in the blanks. For me, I'm still kind of trying to decide if I want to pick this up at the show or not. You can pre-order this right now. I'm not sure how much it will come to the table, because we're just going to say, oh, well, we have this Codenames. It's kind of like you already, two games in the same genre are usually competing. Like if you have two deck building games, one of them is going to come out less often. This is like that.
Honestly, here's the thing for me. Like not that this is bad, but remember a while ago, before they announced this, someone suggested using Dixit.
Right.
And to me, that sounds better because of the fact that how hard it is to interpret Dixit cards.
Well, I think it's definitely different because the cards in this are much less
that's what I'm saying.
Abstract.
So I'm saying, like, would I enjoy the less abstract better than the abstract of Dixit for this?
I have to think that they did do,
They tried both out?
More so just like, for instance, the words and Codenames. Anyone could write words on a piece of paper, but I think they specifically picked ones that could interplay with each other. So I'm assuming they did the same thing here. I don't know. I'm on the fence, but I probably will pick it up just because it's going to be cheap.
Either way, it's Codenames.
It's Codenames, so
check it out.
It'll probably be good. Another one we talked about extensively, Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails. It's got Rails in it. This time, though, also there are sails. You can check out our video that we did previously on it, but hopefully we'll get a chance to actually get some hands-on with it. It will be for sale there also. We'll be premiering there.
If you're lucky. I'm going to make a shot in the dark, and that's going to be the one that always sells out in the first minute.
There's definitely some, because a lot of these are going to be in limited quantities.
But that's my bet, if I had to choose one.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. First prediction of the show. This one I'm excited to talk about next because it was just announced this week from Fantasy Flight. A new Game of Thrones game called The Iron Throne that is taken from the TV series, not the books. I don't know if you heard anything about this game.
I actually have not.
It's essentially a reworking of the Cosmic Encounter system. But instead of aliens, you are using different characters from the 5 houses from Game of Thrones. So, but otherwise, that's it. Instead of putting spaceships or building colonies, you're getting territory in there.
Outside of the character picking, because that can be a little funky and weird, I think it makes perfect sense. Like, Cosmic Encounter really is, I feel like, a very heavily diplomatic game.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree completely.
So it seems to be a very solid choice and makes total sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense. The only thing that, there will be a little less. I'm curious how they do the powers, because with the aliens you can go so weird. This one they're a little more restricted.
The other thing too is if you already have Cosmic Encounter, I mean, how many aliens have you already gone through yet?
Well, I think this is definitely not aimed at people who have Cosmic Encounter. I think they said, hey, we have a system, we could sell a lot of copies because people like Game of Thrones.
Well, I think it's fine, because even though, how many times we mock something when they just reskin it? To me, like I said, if the system is perfect,
if the system fits, play it.
Common catchphrase on Roll for Crit.
Tell me about Black Orchestra from Game Salute.
I'm really excited about that. You didn't know this one, because I think once I explain it, you're going to want to play it.
All right.
So the way it works is you're all playing in Nazi Germany, and you're all high-level officials trying to kill Hitler.
Oh, okay. Okay. But am I an inside man? Or?
You're all inside men.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is, and you're all working together, you don't want to bring too much attention to yourself, or the SS agents are going to find out and take you out. So it's all about the game of finding out how can we get as close enough to Hitler without showing our hand too much.
It's like Valkyrie.
Yeah. So I just thought, like, that sounded really cool to me. Like, it's a cooperative game, but the thing is, because you can't show too much, one person can't do everything, because then the SS agents are like, okay, you're.
So not everybody is trying to kill Hitler.
Well, you're all working together to do it. But I mean, you can't have one person doing everything, because then he's going to draw too much attention.
But it's not like Resistance where there's actually nobody plays Hitler.
No. I wish. Because we all know you would be that person.
That's the expansion.
But I thought that sounded really cool and interesting.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I know the box art looked cool.
Yeah, and especially now, I was really excited that you didn't read anything, because I'm like, gonna tell him this. I'm sure he's gonna be like, oh.
I'm into it. No, I mean, I love the hidden rolls, and I love Nazi Germany. To be clear, we're just joking. I don't really love the Nazi. No, I don't love deduction games.
You do love hidden rolls.
Hidden rolls aren't that good. Next, we have Star Trek Ascendancy from Gale Force 9.
Star Trek.
Star Trek. Didn't I say that?
I'm saying, like, that's all we need to say. Star Trek.
Ascendancy. It's like okay. We have talked about this in the show, but looking forward to trying it out. But I do want to take this opportunity because one that I forgot to put on this list, and the reason I forgot is because it's not a board game, it's an RPG. They just announced a new Star Trek RPG from the people who do Achtung Cthulhu.
That's a good
among other RPGs. So that'll be exciting, which takes from, I believe, all of the different series. You can choose what kind of ship you're on.
I think that's a smart move, because I'm sure if we were to ask any Star Trek fan, like in a line, I'm sure each one would say a different era that they'd rather enjoy.
Yeah, and I don't think you play as like Kirk. I think you're your own.
No, I think that's the
people. You can have your own ship, that kind of thing.
Well, I think leave it up to the GM or whatever they're going to call it.
Leave it up to them.
But yeah, I think that
looks good.
That's definitely, I think, would be a cool and interesting RPG.
So there's our Star Trek stuff.
Now this next one is another Cthulhu game.
Oh, well, our first one of this show.
You're right, but in general, Fate of the Elder Gods. You actually are playing as the cultists, and you're moving around the track. And the idea, I thought it looked sort of cool because you're almost trying to like align the stars in essence with the way you move around the board and try to get resources. It reminded me of like if you remember when we played Airplanes, you know how there's the one track planes, sorry, trying to move around the track and trying to predict your movement because of that. So, and of course everyone has different elder gods that they're trying to worship and get effects
not
to.
cooperative.
Yes.
You have competing gods.
Cultists never cooperate.
Unless they're on the same side.
Even then, I'm sure they're backstabbed.
So what's Fate of the Elder Gods?
Yes.
All right. And that's from Greater Than Games.
Yep. That was actually what surprised. I'm like, because if you didn't have that logo there or anything, I would not have seen that.
Yeah, so they do good stuff.
It was funny. Oh, I should mention, this is, once again, another Kickstarter because it's also now on Kickstarter.
Check them out, folks.
And it was actually funny watching the video, and I think it's actually why we're seeing a lot of Cthulhu games. Guys like, well, you know, we wanted to do Cthulhu. It's like, I just think everyone wants to have a Cthulhu game. It's not even like...
It's another notch on the belt.
It's not even like notch on the belt. It's because they like it. Because, you know, like, I want to do it too.
It's a notch on the belt you really like.
Yeah. Oh, that belt.
Tell me about Seven Ronin.
I thought, no. So this is actually, imagine similar to, what's the game with that?
Samurai Spirit.
Yes. But instead of like cooperative, it's a two-player game where one person controls the ninjas and the
I
other
did see this.
controls the seven Ronin.
Okay.
And in essence, the ninjas are trying to go, you know, take over the village enough to win, while the samurai are trying to repel them. And to me, it looked really cool, like the artwork, you know, two-player game style, and we did like the other Samurai Spirit. So
anything with the, you know, Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai theme, I think is pretty fun.
Seven's a good number.
It's a great number. It's a really good number. But this is a two-player game.
Yes.
Which is interesting. Next up, we do have Headhunters. We really do have it for you, folks. This is a two-player, or not two-player, I don't know how many players. Forget I ever said anything about the players. But it's a card battling.
You're stuck on Seven Ronin.
It's a card battling game. The reason that I'm really bringing it up, the gimmick of this is you've got these little figurines that kind of look like those pop figures that I hate. But you put the cards that you use in the game are stored in their heads. So there's actually a reason their heads are so big. You open the head up and take the cards out, and the idea is it's a collectible thing, kind of like a Hero Clicks, but you know, you take your guy with you, your little head, and then you can play at the store and here's my guy.
Reminds me of, I don't know if you had, like when I was, you know, back in the 90s, they had these like little heads you can get, you buy, and they open up, had little like an environment inside, and you get little figures that jump around them. I think similar to that.
Or Mighty Max.
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it reminds me of.
I love those things. Those are good. Yeah, this will be kind of like that. I don't know how well this game will play, but they're definitely putting it out there. I think they feel like they're trying, they want to be amiibos or pop figures. I think they really...
It's worth checking it out.
It's presenting itself as that collectible phenomenon. We talked about that Naruto deck building game that we didn't like, but there's a board game.
Yes, this isn't from Cryptozoic, and this is one of the reasons I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
This is actually coming from
Japanime Games,
which as far as I know, they bring over a lot, but this is the first time of like a major title they're bringing over. So I think it's interesting, and I do think, like, I actually have read, I think I stopped near the end, but like most of the Naruto series. And I do think it could work as a board game, like in terms of territory. I mean, there's the 5 villages and stuff, you know, and fighting over political, and then of course something evil gets thrown in.
Headbands.
Oh, it's got to come with headbands. You got to have the headbands. But I do think it could be an interesting board game style, and definitely want to check it out and see what the game brings.
And the fact that it is from a Japanese publisher adds some credibility to it. I think it's not just an American cash-in.
4Kids didn't get their hands
American
on it.
Pigs. Next, Apocrypha from Lone Shark Games. What is Apocrypha?
Well, this one, if you recall earlier.
Yeah.
I always forget. It's like the box art I have to look at. I feel bad.
It's very dark.
Remember the one I talked about with the cavemen?
Yes.
This is actually similar to that.
Okay.
The way this game works is this
one is cave women.
It's more like apocalypse monsters going through, and this is apparently chapter 1, big game. But
okay.
And the game actually works. You can either play with everyone working together, or more like Descent, in which one person's the mastermind.
Got it.
To me, that's nice because giving the choice of options, because maybe you don't want someone who would be a mastermind, or you do, depending on your game group. But you actually have to fight through. You get unlock secrets and stuff, and I think they call fractured memories and things. And then you actually will carry it on to the next chapter, which will be released. I think it has 800 cards or something.
So apparently, this is the new big trend.
Well, it's like pseudo legacy.
They've taken legacy way further than the original concept. It's game to game to game now.
Well, I think because the difference is legacy, you'll have to have everything packaged up and have to leave space that they might never open. But this way, you can be like, look, we'll make this now. We'll find out what crazy stuff we'll throw in later.
It's interesting.
I think it's an interesting concept, and this one's I think, at least judging by the description, is more story based, which I think works. So that's why Origins is more makes sense of a literal timeline we're gonna see. How your civilizations rise and fall.
This is maybe more like an RPG book.
Right. And that's why I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it translates.
Apocrypha.
And also, not only in board game, but also in pricing.
That too. Next, this one I'm super excited about. Captain Sonar from Madagascar. So this is, you're playing teams, 2 teams, and you're all on submarines. And I think the ideal, it's different numbers of players, but I think you normally have 4 people on each team. And it takes place in real time. You all have different roles. Somebody's the captain, someone's on sonar, and so on.
I have a hat for that.
You sure do. And you're actively trying to hit your opponents while they're trying to hit you. So it's kind of like Battleship in a way.
Do you know where?
Yeah, you have a map. And based on, I don't know exactly how the roles work, but somehow based on what the other team is doing and what you can do, you're able to deduct where they might be. And then the only time the game stops is when you say, we're trying to make a hit, and they say whether you hit them or not.
Because that would, I could just imagine B466, the mist.
But it's gotten a lot of good buzz as a party game, especially when you have a full group.
Gotta love that buzz.
People seem to really like it. I think the concept is fantastic.
The only thing that worries me, judging by what you said, the groups of 4, it sounds like 2 Rooms in a Boom. Not that that's a bad game, but it's hard for us to get the right amount of people.
That's true. Well, they said it's better once you're more experienced. It'll be like the XCOM thing where one person takes on multiple roles.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure it will definitely be better with a full group.
We gotta check it out.
You gotta check it out. Next is Salem from Passport Game Studios, who were just talking about King's Sport Festival.
And I think they actually do Samurai Spirit too.
Maybe. Maybe not. So Salem, we've seen a couple of games I feel recently based on this concept, but I still think it's really fun because I haven't played any of them, so I haven't been tired of it yet. But it's Salem Witch Trials. You're trying to figure out who the witches are. Each person actually controls multiple residents, and some are witches and some aren't. You're trying to figure out which are which.
I just imagine,
which are which.
I just imagine in your head, do you know if you have a witch or not?
Yes, I believe you do. But
so
you don't know other people's.
Oh, but I just imagine you're like, I have a witch. I don't like the witch, but I'm the witch. Like you have in your head, you just.
I think everybody knows they have the same number. You're just trying to figure out. Again, I won't say it. But what's also interesting about this is it's really, they did their homework. The people you're playing as are actually named after real people in real time periods. They got it all historically accurate, which is interesting.
Does someone have a needle in their stomach while playing?
I don't understand this reference.
Well, the play, that's based on the same Witch Tiles. Like someone pulled a needle, had a needle in
Crucible?
the Crucible.
They had a needle thing? Sure. We're not that literary a show.
you remember your high school literature, Jonathan. I'm ashamed of you.
Now, I know you're excited about this one.
No.
Glorantha, The Gods' War from Sandy Peterson.
Yes, I'm absolutely excited. This is Sandy Peterson did Cthulhu Wars, and I would say this is probably similar, except not heavily.
From what
based.
I've heard, it's the same kind of base system, but very different to play.
Yeah, a lot of crazy new miniatures, and it's really funny how he first showed them off because he compared them to Cthulhu Wars, and they're about the same size. So we're talking about like this big.
Big old minis.
It was really great because he did them all when you put them together. It's like Cthulhu and this guy arguing who's the darker person. The black goat talking about their kids with another figure. Like he's just so great. But he does quality work on the miniatures we've seen. I'm assuming this is going to be a very big game, and not on Kickstarter yet, I believe. And I don't know if the time is run out, but there was a thing, if you signed up for the newsletter, you actually got, and back to Kickstarter, you got a promo figure for free.
Okay.
So definitely something to check out if you love miniatures.
Do you know anything about this theme? Because from what I read, it's
actually based
exists.
apparently, on the world of, I think,
Glorantha.
I had never heard of it before.
No, me either. I don't know what this is.
We did not do our research
But
on
it's not Cthulhu. Well, I read about it.
I've loved this game, and we should sort of mention on a side note, Theomachy apparently will be there, which I actually have because I backed on Kickstarter. I loved it. I've loved Cthulhu Wars too, so I'm looking forward for this. But we're going to check this out. If you haven't played it before, definitely check out Theomachy, especially if you're like a poker fan, because it's based off the mechanics of that. So definitely Sandy Peterson is one of the booths I'm excited to go check out.
All right, next we're getting to some of the games that I'm most excited about and that I think have some of the most hype.
All right, first one, Tic-Tac-Toe.
Tic-Tac-Toe. This time, the X's are mad. Seafall, big old title from Plaid Hat Games, or whoever owns them this day. And designer Rob Davio, who did Risk Legacy and is doing Pandemic Legacy, Seafall is his first Legacy title that is not based on an existing property.
Right.
So that's why I'm very, very excited and interested to try
Legacy is so hot right now.
It really is, but this is the guy who birthed it, so I feel like you've got a little more cred there. So I'm excited for that. Also from Plaid Hat, you've got the 2 new expansions for Ashes.
Yes, I'm very excited about this, mostly because I want to grab them and get all the Ashes decks, because as of the base set, I haven't looked with the most recent decks really, but I know with the base set I looked it up, and most people were like, the decks are fine as they are. With more cards they introduce, you might have some bit more customization and stuff. So, and I think they look really cool. I mean, we have the pictures behind us, and I really want Ashes to be a big hit. I've loved it when we played it. So.
It seems like it's doing well. I mean, for now, we'll see. We'll see if it goes the way of Doomtown or not. But
don't say that. Don't jinx it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay because Asmodee now owns them. Therefore, Fantasy Flight has it. So
it'll never die.
The good LCG company, or the big LCG company, I guess I should say,
it will never die. This brings us to Portal Games, and the game, one of my most anticipated ones, which we kind of talked about just when it was announced.
I'm pretty sure I know what it is because I think we both got very excited about it.
I don't know. It's Cry Havoc.
Yep.
So it's a sci-fi game, territory control, but everyone has a different race, and you're trying to take over a planet of aliens. One of the designers is the guy who did Theseus and Neuroshima Hex. It's Portal Games. They always do great stuff. And this one, from what I've heard, has gotten tons of good reception. Really positive. I know Tom Vassell was gushing about it, so I'm definitely looking forward to
it's
playing
Portal
this.
Games. I don't think either of us have ever felt bad about their games.
They do great stuff, and they have a couple other ones as well that are going to be there. The Rattle Battle expansion that we talked about,
right,
and Tides of Madness, which we also talked about. So
yes.
Not going to go too deep into those, but
check out our videos on them if you want. But if you haven't guessed, Tides of Madness is Tides of Time with Cthulhu. And the other one's expansion of Rattle Battle. So it's Rattle Battle with expansion.
Check it out. Next up, Junk Art. Have you heard of this one?
No, I have not.
Great. It comes from Pretzel. Comes from Pretzel Games. These are the people who did Flick 'em Up. And this is another dexterity-driven game. So you've got that foundation there. This one sounds really cool. Basically, you're trying to make art, sort of, and there's all these different pieces in the center that you're taking different ones, and everybody kind of has their own miniature Jenga stack, and you want to make like the best art, but if it gets too tall and falls over, you lose the game. But the concept is really neat, and based on the success of Flick 'em Up, these guys obviously know what they're doing when it comes to dexterity games.
I wonder if, because last time they were there with Flick 'em Up,
oh yeah,
they had a larger version.
Giant.
So I wonder if we're gonna have giant Jenga.
I bet they will. I would not be surprised at all. They'll probably also have more Flick 'em Up because there's more Flick 'em Up stuff that's been coming out. There's a couple from Renegade Games that I do not know about.
Yeah.
Covert is the first one.
That's more of a party. It's like the Cold War spy game. You have to place your guys across the, I think the map area and territory, controlling with your agents, using dice rolls. So it sounded very interesting. Definitely wanted to check it out. The other one though is called Lotus, that we're coming up. And this one I think because it looks like you're sort of building a lotus flower in this garden, and then trying to get different animals to help you and stuff. Definitely very attractive to the eye. I want to see if the gameplay, follows through with the art. So that's definitely a big one for me.
Kind of sounds like lanterns in a sense. The way that we like those Zen.
Almost like even if you
games.
win or lose, it's just like you're making something.
You just make a pretty picture, man. Just relax. That was me drinking something.
That's what that was?
Water. Yeah, I was drinking water. Now, speaking of Zen games. Moops Monster Mashup.
Oh, classic words used in Zen religion.
So in case you're confused, this is a new Munchkin game, but it is based directly on the comic books themselves. So it has all artwork done by that artist, and it's incorporating those characters specifically, but it is more or less at its core, the subtitle is a Munchkin game. It's interchangeable with all the other Munchkins.
Okay.
But I just thought it was very interesting. This is, as far as I know, it's the first Munchkin game that the Munchkin part is just a subtitle. It's almost like they're trying to start their own a spin-off, but not really.
Well, it's like you're now gonna have the Munchkin engine.
yeah. God forbid. But I'm surprised. Why didn't they call it Munchkin Moops Monster Mashup?
Well,
is Moop that big a deal?
Well, to me, what's interesting is it's sort of. I'd say it's because it's not really I'd say it's the first official, but there's sort of a Patient Zero, Marvel Munchkin.
That's right.
And the reason why I say that is compared to everything else before, all of them, even though technically I think Steampunk Munchkin didn't have the original Munchkin artist, they still had the feel of the obvious silly Munchkin. The Marvel one, while it has Munchkin in the title, really is, if you look at it, it's just pictures from the Marvel cartoon.
Same with Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right, there's that one too. So I think they're starting to be like, okay, if it doesn't have that obvious Munchkin vibe in terms of the artwork, it's going to be a Munchkin game.
Interesting.
At least that's my thoughts.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's going to be like Munchkin. Hey, another Mars game. Terraforming Mars from Stronghold Games. What's up? What are they doing on Mars this time? Actually, I've heard good things about this one.
Well, they're terraforming it.
Oh, yeah, that's what they're doing. Stronghold Games puts out good stuff. I like Mars.
In essence, you're on. It's I think the year 2400.
No. It's 2016.
2016. Oh, but anyways,
in this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're all trying to terraform. Who can? It's almost. I think there's some other games that have done something, but like who can make help the planet the most. But the game ends like once you reach I think it's certain levels. I would say like the minimum of terraforming of oxygen, water, and stuff. So there's a lot more of keeping track of those levels. Like sure, you could add more, but you might be ending the game faster and stuff. So. But, apparently this is also the year of doing things on Mars. So, I mean, how could we not put it on the list?
Yeah, it does look pretty good. And it is our only Strongholds title that we're going to talk about today. Next, a very interesting one, Escape the Room Mystery at the Stargazer's Manor from Think Fun. This is another one of those Escape the Room games that are sort of starting to creep in on us. And what I think is really cool about this that I want to touch on is that their booth, because they cannot demo the game, because you can only play it once, they actually have a separate game experience inspired by it that they're going to be doing every 30 minutes. If people drop by, you can try that out instead as the demo.
I mean, that sounds awesome.
Which is really fun. And the game itself, it's only like $20, which I guess that's because you can only play it one time, but it still surprised me because I'm sure there's some, so they can be kind of elaborate, those escape the room puzzles and stuff. So that sounds fun, and I definitely hope we get a chance to check out that booth because that'll be an experience. Nearing the end of our show, of course, we would be remiss not to mention Upper Deck.
Yes.
We've got them all on one big slide because this is all legendary stuff except for the one versus thing, but they go together.
If you haven't been watching us, as we mentioned before, how we talk about Cryptozoic's deck building series, Legendary series has been sort of your,
And boy, do they have some stuff this year. So
we were shocked.
First,
still a little.
Marvel Civil War.
Right.
It's going to have Civil War stuff. It's got some weird stuff in it, like a new
Iron
size-changing mechanic, as well as cards that have 2 cards on them.
Huh.
Yup. They're called divided cards, and literally there's 2 cards, and you buy them both for the same cost on 1 card.
Okay.
Bunch of weird stuff like that. Honestly, I'm starting to get burnt out on these because we barely even played the Captain America one yet, and the idea of now adding another 16 heroes to this, I'm like, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to manage all this stuff.
Honestly, I think that's more on us, though.
But it's there. I mean, it is that it isn't.
No, I mean, I slightly agree, but at the same time, I do feel that.
I'm not.
We could do more.
I'm not blaming them if they're selling, keep making them. But at a certain point, I start to get fatigued.
But that's another discussion for another time.
All right,
we should talk about though the other 2 titles. I think is what.
The other 2 are legendary Big Trouble in Little China and the Firefly title.
Yes.
I'm much more excited for Firefly than I am for Civil War because that's where obviously I'm a big Firefly fan, but But I'm, that's I think going to offer the different thing. We were talking earlier about how that has the Encounters logo and Big Trouble does not.
Yes, and my theory was that because the other things that has Encounters is the Alien and Predator. So I'm thinking that the Firefly actually will play a little differently, while Big China would be literally the legendary system.
Well, do you think it will play differently, or do you think it will be like Alien? You know what I mean? Like Encounters all play like this, Legendary all plays like this.
No, I mean it could, but because I don't really think Alien, the way Alien works, because Alien works because it's Alien. I think Encounters is literally, it's mostly the legendary system, but we throw in this one really big game difference that makes it so it has to be its own thing.
Maybe it's just all ones that are in space sometimes.
Literally, it's Encounters means in space.
I don't think we've seen much of the gameplay, but they did show off some of the avatar cards of the different crew members. And it looks cool. It's all original art, I believe, so it looks kind of neat. That's Legendary then.
And we should grab them. There's also the Versus.
Right.
This is the first time we're leaving the Marvel, so that's going to be cool.
Alien is entering the Versus world. Should be neat.
Oh, yeah.
If you like those things. Next up, another one that we already talked about, but it's Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, the new one from USAopoly.
Right. Then this is really, I would say, USAopoly is really trying to finally be like, okay, this board game hobby is big enough. We need to actually get to them now.
Looks like they're dipping their toes in it's a deck building game.
And they chose wisely. They chose a very easy game mechanic with probably one of the largest properties that exist.
This is going to be the one that's really tough to get, from what I've heard.
So we'll actually be selling there.
Yeah, they will be selling it. They said.
So this is your prediction of the.
Well, I don't need to predict anything because according to Board Game Geek, they're going to have 50 copies each day. It's going to be gone. Like this, people are going to run here. But a lot of these games also, I want to mention that they are only being released a month or 2 from now. So if you can't go to Gen Con, or even if you miss a copy there, you're going to get them.
You don't understand.
Pretty soon.
I need it right away.
Calm down. Relax. Speaking of deck building games, Cthulhu.
Well, this is,
Aren't you ashamed?
Nope.
Tell us about it.
I mean, it had Cthulhu and deck building in it. So
is that it?
No, I'm
all right.
I'm saying why.
Okay.
But in this, you're actually playing as the investigators, trying to defeat the other gods. Okay. So you're going to be building your decks to try to fight, and it's cooperative. So I think that's cool.
Good.
And I think the artwork looked amazing. So I think that's one of the things now, because there's so much Cthulhu, I'm like, you better have amazing artwork to go with it. In addition, like everything goes up.
There better be something with tentacles in that box.
But yeah, I think it sounded like bringing a lot of interesting stuff. I want to try it out. I want to see what they bring to make it different. Because once again, while I love deck building, we always want to see that one thing that makes it stand out.
If you title your game Cthulhu, the deck building game, it better be really good. Because that title does not inspire a lot of confidence in me, especially when it was a Kickstarter. I feel like that's very shaky territory. But we'll see. Next, another one that's going to be on Kickstarter while we're there. The new Hostage Negotiator, which is a standalone and an expansion. This time features a female hostage negotiator.
Does that make a difference?
Yeah, it's progressive.
No, I mean like ability-wise or something.
Yeah, she gets moody. No, of course not. She's a human being, just like all other people. So that would be. I love the first Hostage Negotiator. You can check out our solo playthrough of that to check that out. Finally, almost finally, we got Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu. Again, we've talked about this, but it will be there to play, so it's going to be a big one. We had to mention it. We'll let you know what we think.
I mean, we had to say something from Z-Man.
Yes, we did. We had to say at least one thing.
Before we found out we're just saying more
now everything
Asmodee.
is Z-Man
Yeah.
by association. Then we've got a bunch of these ones behind us that we're not going to talk about at length because they were all ones we've already said as Kickstarter Pickstarters.
Yeah.
But they will be there in the show.
I should be picking up one of them.
Which one?
The dinosaur.
The Great Dinosaur Rush?
Yeah.
There's also the Bring Your Own Book game, which sounds pretty cool. The Goonies game. Dreamwell from Action Phase games. Some cool stuff that hopefully we'll get a chance to dig into ourselves. You will definitely be getting a chance to dig into at least one of them.
And that works because it's about digging.
Oh, nice. I knew that. So that's the end of our extensive preview. What I want to ask you is, what are you looking forward to the most, and what are you going to rush out to try to buy right away?
That's a good question. I have to. I feel like
I can go first.
Yeah, go first while I think. Because
one of these two of them I did put pre-orders in for already. One was Cry Havoc, and the other was the Rattle Battle expansion.
I will say Cry Havoc probably is up on my list there, which I'm very happy you're getting, so now I don't have to think about it.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I was like I said, on the fence about pre-ordering Codenames. I love when they do pre-orders for Gen Con. The other one is definitely Harry Potter. I don't know if I have the energy to rush out to buy it there. I might just wait on that one.
Well, the reason why I wouldn't rush out there is it's USAopoly. I know they're so good at just throwing it everywhere. You're going to find this in Targets and
stuff. And it's Harry Potter, so it's going to be out there. It also comes out in September.
The two of them, I'm going to sort of put them together, are the two I talked about, the Caveman, I think it's Origins or something.
Chronicles.
And the I can't forget.
Apocrypha?
Thank you. I love how you remember the name. But see how they work, because I think it's interesting how they're going to entice me to keep, whether I want to play it again, because I want to keep moving to the next chapter. Because I do think it's almost like time stories in that. So I want to see what...
I definitely think they're taking that baton and running with it.
Yeah, and I want to see where they're going with it. So I think that's really cool. I mean, I'm definitely going to check out Sandy Peterson games. Like, to me, the other two games have been... I've loved... I mean, the one was on our 10x10.
Last year, Cthulhu Wars was like our game of show, or a Board Game Geek it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at Gen Con, but we love that game.
So definitely going to check out his booth.
I know... I don't know if they're going to be selling it there. I think they are, but I know they're going to be demoing it, which is the new Buffy game, and I'm going to be definitely trying to play that, and if it's available, probably buy a copy.
I'd say that actually a big one I'm excited to try out is, I think, actually on that list of everything we talked about, Aegis, because I really loved it when we first saw it there, but I want to see more of its final form.
Yeah.
So that's definitely probably.
And I guess Firefly Legendary would be the other big one for me that I'm really.
We're going to get all the legendaries.
That one I'm also not, and Speechless if it turns out to be really good. I think that.
I want to. Yeah, I definitely will want to try. Even buy a one-party game, and definitely if I can pick it up. I already said it, but the Cryptozoic Internal Affairs.
Right.
Because to me that was really fun to play. It was not too heavy, but just that right amount of like switching and stuff to really have a lot of fun.
We want to know, what games are you looking forward to at Gen Con? Please let us know if there's something we didn't mention that you really want us to check out.
Yeah,
so
honestly, there
were
on it. So many things that are on that list, and I'm sure there are more that even on the list, like all the sites that we looked at.
Yeah.
So we apologize if we didn't make it to your favorites. It doesn't mean we don't like them.
It means we hate them. Please leave a comment right here on YouTube or email us, rollforcrit@gmail.com, so we can get to that stuff for you. We are not going to have a regular episode next week. This will be our last episode before the Gen Con coverage starts. So make sure you check us out on Twitter, @rollforcrit, Facebook.
But do not be remorseful. We'll still be putting up videos.
Yes,
because we will be covering the Gen Con period.
Like everything that will be there. It will be really good. So you can also find us online, rollforcrit.com.
And we'll be doing so much more, just like I said, following tweets and stuff. And I believe Neil keeps signaling to us that we'll be also on Periscoping.
Is that what it was?
Yes. He's trying out his Speechless, too.
Okay. I thought he was kind of losing his mind a little bit.
But yeah, we're going to be making sure that we have all the coverage there. And hopefully we'll try to do better than our 10x10 right now, and currently on our hit list for Gen Con.
Absolutely.
We should actually start the Roll for Crit hit list.
There's even more stuff, like we also didn't, the Dead of Winter expansion's going to be there. That's coming out really soon also.
Like we said, there's a lot.
A lot of stuff. So check that out for sure. Rollforcrit.com, where you can also buy a lot of games, and also there might be somewhere nudity. That's what I heard, so I would check every page just to be sure.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but for now, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and you've been watching Roll for Crit.